Alright guys, so today we're doing the ball joints on our 2004 TJ Wrangler. As you can tell, I've already got it a good bit apart. We've got a video already covering really breaking everything on the knuckle down to change the hubs. All this was we took it a step further and went ahead and pulled the knuckle off. So today I'm going to show you how to press out and press in new ball joints on a 2004 TJ. Like I said, as you can see, we've already got the knuckle off. Got a video where we actually put these Timken hubs that I'm using as a prop for our brake caliper in the Jeep. That's them right there. Should have gone ahead and done ball joints when we had all that apart, but I didn't video filming this because we already shot all that when we did the hubs. The only extra step is we went ahead and pulled the knuckle off, which is just two castle nuts on both ball joints. Obviously this is your inner C on the front axle, this is your upper ball joint, and then down here is your lower ball joint. And the first thing you're going to want to notice is which direction both of these joints press out. The upper, it's got this lip around it, so it can't go down, it's got to go up. The upper presses up out of the C, and the lower, sorry for the light, it actually presses down out of the C. So the upper presses up, the lower presses down, and then it'll be opposite when we go to reassemble. Next thing you're going to want to do is either go buy a nice ball joint press, and by nice I mean made in USA. This is an OTC brand. I've had it for a while. We've been meaning to do this on the Jeep, just been putting it off. You're going to want to get a good one because, as you probably will be able to tell later in the video when we're pressing these out, we put a lot of torque on this. These ball joints are really hard to get out. I believe these are factory ball joints, as in they have 170,000 miles on them, and they're from 2004. So they're not going to come out very easy. You don't want to invest in a ball joint press that's going to bend and snap when you go to press these out. So it comes with the press itself, which is basically a massive C-clamp, and you've got all of these adapters that come with it. And we actually got a four-wheel drive adapter as well, which, if I can find there it is. I'm not sure if you can tell, this piece has a angle to it. It's kind of tapered. That's because pressing these out, this is not actually perfectly in line. You put this on there and it actually creates a central axis going through the C and helps you press the new ball joint in straight. So anyway, that's all we've got. You can rent one of these at the auto parts store. With how many Jeeps we have ride with us and everything, I'm sure this will not be the only time this gets used, so we went ahead and got one. So we're going to get this thing loaded up, and we're going to start with the upper ball joint, and we're going to start pressing it out. What we choose to go with to press the upper out is this little adapter here in the bottom of the C as you're pressing up. So as you tighten this in, it's going to pull this clamp together, it's going to press up from the bottom, and then we've got a receiver cup on the top. It's just empty in here, so it allows that upper to be pushed up through here and out of the outer C here. So now comes the fun part. The other side took quite a bit of force, so I'm going to video this and see how this one goes. Go ahead and just get it snugged up, make sure everything feels good. Oh yeah, that's it. Now we're going to grab our jack handle, aka pry bar, and we're going to see how this goes. It's a pretty slow process. I'm not sure if you'd want to do this with an impact, but you could try. It may speed things up a little bit. But the goal is, as you turn this, it presses that ball joint out. Alright, we just heard a pop. least on the other side. That meant it broke loose a little bit. Yeah, it's a lot easier now. Removal is way worse than installation, trust me. Yep, it's getting even easier here in a minute. It'll completely pop free, and then we'll know it's completely unseated. There it goes. You can unscrew your press. Get that out of the way. Here's your old upper ball joint. For the lower, since it presses down, you actually have to run the tool up through the hole where the upper was. That's why you have to take that out first. And then I've got to remember what combination of things we use to capture this on the bottom side. Not sure how well y'all can see that, but you shouldn't be able to get this much play out of a ball joint by hand. Both lowers were completely shot, which if they've got 175,000 miles on them or whatever the Jeep has, it makes sense. I'm gonna see if this contraption works here. I actually can't remember what I did on the previous side. There was your big pop. And now it gets easier. I haven't put so much force on this. I hope I'm not bending my jack handle. I wasn't kidding you when I said this wasn't a fun job. There it goes. Pull our clamp out. And there is one shot lower TJ ball joint. So now that you have your ball joints out, you want to take some very light grit sandpaper. If there's any rust or buildup in here, kind of sand that off. These don't look too bad. And then once you do that, shoot them out with some simple green or any sort of cleaner and get that really clean before you press your new ball joints in. As far as new ball joints, we went Spicer, part number 706944X. It's been very, very, very recommended to stick with the OEM Spicer joints in this. Don't ask me why. I guess they're better quality. A lot of people go to the aftermarket rebuildable joints that have the knurling on the outside, little grooves and stuff. Once you go to those, you can't go back. And everybody says to go back with Spicer, so that's what we're doing. There's our upper. Here's our lower. They've got a little engraving on them. If they don't, send them back because they're not Spicer. There's that one. And then it also comes with new lower castle nut, upper castle nut, cotter pins, and that little adapter, which we do not use on a TJ. Alright, here is reinstallation of the upper ball joint. This is our setup we're using. Obviously we have our clamp running upward again. We've got a big spacer Up here it's actually a receiver, but it fits perfect over the lip of this joint. And then this is the really important part on reinstall. This is actually that offset spacer that's kind of got a taper to it. If you look right down the axis of this C, I know it's hard to see on camera, you want this to be lined up exactly straight so this gets pressed in perfect. You don't want to press this in sideways or anything because you'll end up pushing it back out and having to get another ball joint. So we're about to get this upper pressed in. It's important to get it seated all the way against the C. So reinstallation isn't quite as bad as removal. You do just want to make extra sure that you're pressing these in straight. That's the main thing with reinstallation. Gonna go ahead and get this one started. Before we get really snug, I'm gonna check and make sure that we're still plumb in that axis. A little bit of an annoying part is you're actually running into this shock tower up here with our ratchet. When this thing starts to seat, you'll feel some extra resistance. Everything's looking good. Just to be sure, I'm going to give it a little more of a tug. And that's seated. Go ahead and back off of our tool. Pry bar is a must for this job. There it goes. And from there we can just spin it on off. Just like that. As you can see here, we have no space around either side of the ball joint. You want it to be perfectly flush all the way around against the top of that upper C. And that one looks good. Well guys, as you can probably tell, we hit a snag and I stopped filming. It's actually 2 days later. I had to wait on more parts. I already put it away, but it's similar to this. One of the adapters that came with our ball joint kit actually ended up bending when we tried to press out the lower bottom ball joint, and we actually needed that same adapter to press the lower ball joint back in, the new ball joint that is. So we waited on parts, got it finished up now. Got some good footage of pressing the old ones out, and then you guys watched me install this one. The lower goes pretty much the same way. Moral of the story is buy a good ball joint kit. The press itself is very, very nice, and I guess the adapters, I was just putting too much pressure, or should have tried to heat the C up before pressing them out. It did very good pressing these new ones in, but the old ones, I believe, were in there from the factory. I don't think they had ever been changed, so getting them out was just terrible, and it bent my set. So thankfully, I could just order the adapters and not the whole press again. Like I said, the press, the C-clamp actually was very, very stout. And I still recommend the OTC kit. I would just say almost buy a extra set of adapters, because there's no telling what you'll get into. But I've got the hub back on. I just reattached the steering. About to put the axle nut on, get all that button back up, and then we're actually going to do an alignment. Replacing these ball joints on the solid axle TJs really shouldn't affect anything, because the ball joints, if anything, would affect the camber, and I believe that's set in these. I don't believe that can be aligned on a TJ. We're going to go ahead and do an alignment once we get this button back up, but I just wanted to make a quick outro to this ball joint video. Hope it was somewhat helpful. Again, my first recommendation is a good ball joint kit. Second is to just be patient, and I actually put my new ball joints in the freezer for a few hours before pressing them in, and they went in really easily. I don't even know if I needed to do that. Main thing is just being patient, pressing the old ones out. It's definitely not fun. So thanks again for watching, guys. Sorry to miss the lower ball joint installation on this side. It is what it is. Alright guys, catch you next time.